Hi guys, okay, so this is going to be my guide to set up the Blackview BV5500 devices with a dual SIM setup. Starting with the SIMs, as you can see demonstrated here on the page in front of me, we have two SIM cards in a SIM tray, and I've actually highlighted the SIM tray numbers, 1 and 2. The APN is required to be in 2, and the voice SIM is required to be in 1. If you have unmarked SIMs, please confirm with me the SIM numbers and I will come back to you as to which ones are what if you are unsure. Moving along, let's look at this AnyDesk view, which is now currently locked, of a Blackview device, and we're going to start from the beginning. So the only things I've done on this device is I've installed AnyDesk so I can remotely view it from my computer and record this, and 2, I have connected it to the Wi-Fi, which we will see shortly. It's connected to the Wi-Fi. We will disconnect that to demonstrate that the data SIM card is working. So the first thing we're going to go through is the SIM card setup. So once we confirm that the orientation is correct, we're going to go to network and internet, and from there we're going to go to SIM cards. And then the easiest thing that I do for now is we label the SIM cards to identify them very quickly. As you can tell, there's certain roles you set each SIM card to perform, and we want to very quickly identify which one is what. But because we know which slot we have placed our particular SIM cards in, we can then label those accordingly. So the first SIM slot we're going to label to voice. You will obviously be typing this on the phone screen and not with a keyboard. Sorry for you guys. Okay, so the first SIM card we know was voice, the second one is data, so please label them accordingly, and then we need to set them. So mobile data, this is where it can get confusing, but if we label it, it will be relatively obvious. We're going to choose data for mobile data. Calls, we're going to choose voice. SMSs are already on voice, that's great. You're going to see that the SIM cards will shut off and shut on their own, just wait for them. Let's talk about the weather. Okay, here they are. Alright, waking up again. Then the next thing we need to do is, once we've set that, we're going to go to the mobile network section below that, well, above that. And then you will very quickly identify the two SIM cards based on the labels we've just applied. So within the voice one, we want to make sure, well, that's fine. That you don't have to set anything here. We're going to go straight to the data SIM card. We're going to enable data roaming. For some reason, this seems to allow guys to connect to towers when they're in, out of reach, suburban areas and things like that, where the signal is relatively bad. So I'll just do that as a precautionary measure. But the main thing that we want to do here is set the custom APN for the company. If you don't have it already, add it. We're going to give it a name. It's not necessary, but it's good. We'll call it Bex. The APN is what we're interested in, and that is bex.coza. Simple as that. No username, no ports, no nothing. Then you click on these three little dots, and then you click save. That will create the APN, but you still need to select it. Once you've selected it, great, cool. So that's then sorted. Then the next, and this is crucial, step is to go into data usage and disable the data for voice. And then go down and enable it for data. And this is where most guys are having trouble. So the voice SIM will run out of its bundled data if it should have, and then the guys don't have data anymore. So it could seem like the device is working fine until that data actually runs out. Then the next thing we want to do, let me just refer to my notes here, is we need to check the Google account. You can find that, I'm blind, over here under user accounts. I've actually removed the account. If you guys have the old do not reply account, remove that. That's important. If you have the new mobile account, the mobiles at bex.coza account, then you're fine and good to go. Alright, here we are. These phones are so slow. Okay, goodness. Mobiles at bex.coza. Let me get this code. I generally don't want the devices to be doing anything that they don't need to be doing, so backing up to Google Drive is unneeded. Another thing that I'll do, and this is just quality, you know, is to a quality value add, is to just stop the devices from trying to sync things. You don't need these features for a driver's mobile. Alright, so next on the list of to do is now to actually install the mobile app. If you don't know how to do that, get the browser open. We're not going to sign into Chrome. I don't suggest you do either. And the website that we want to get to, which is a work website, it will be mobiles.bex.coza stroke mobile.apk, and that will allow you to download the program. It's going to ask permission. Obviously we need to allow this. There'll be two screens that ask for permission. Once we download it, it will download. Once it asks to install, it will also require permission. So just enable that. Cool. So now, somewhere along in the phone, you're going to find Mobile Insight, and you can just open that up and just give it all the allowed features it needs. When you do log in, I highly recommend on a first time device setup, before a driver gets hold of the phone, you want to just ensure that this app has access to the camera. Okay, and then we choose a vehicle. I'm just going to choose my imaginary vehicle with mileage of 1, which I cannot seem to type with a keyboard, which is very frustrating. Of course it's roadworthy, it doesn't exist. Okay, so then the next thing that's really important is once you click on this little barcode icon, it will ask for permission. Enable this. This is so that guys can scan their trip sheets with the phone. And then it will bring up a little scanner. I wonder if it will reveal the environment. There you go. You can have a quick look at my keyboard if you want to. That would be a trip sheet. You just scan that and yay. Well, they would want a barcode. I don't have a barcode for you. You can look at this hard drive. Let's see if it'll scan it. Probably not. But you get the idea. Okay, so once that's done, some quality of life features that we need to enable. We need to get to settings. Alright, so there's something called, what is this thing called? DuraSpeed, that's it. So you go there, and then you want to enable background data for Mobile Insight. That's important. I suspect that may help with collection requests coming through to the device. And then another thing that I would highly recommend is going into the Play Store if the device doesn't have it. You may notice on some devices when you set them up for the first time, if you don't see the the brown B icon on the top right here representing the account, I think you may have trouble installing apps from the Play Store. I would recommend installing a launcher. I use Nova Launcher. Let's get that installed, and it just tidies up the desktop on the, well, the phone top, if you want to call it that, the home screen. So we'll get that installed. And then the last thing I want to go through after installing Nova Launcher is Google Maps. Okay, and then what you want to do is open the launcher, and it will ask you if you want to use this every time. So I just next all these settings. The defaults are all pretty good. Then when you click the home button, it will ask you which launcher you want to use. You want to select Nova Launcher. and then always. And you'll see that the screen gets really tidied up, and then I just delete the widgets. I actually just delete the screen. And then this one, get rid of that. Then we stick with the 1, get rid of this one. And then what I do is just tidy up the task, the little home bar at the bottom here, removing the things that drivers don't need. Put the phone on the left. You guys can do this any way you want to, obviously, and the drivers will probably change this as they see fit. And then to get to the rest of the apps on the phone, you need to swipe up. We're going to put messages on there because these guys need to get to that. What else do we have here? Goodness. Maps. And then the final one will be mobile insight. And then in maps, to finalize, one feature, if you are struggling with data or any issues whatsoever, but the driver's currently at the office and they have access to the local Wi-Fi, one thing that you can do is you can download the offline maps. And what I recommend is you there's some of the guys just sort of choose the area where they are. I recommend you zoom right out to capture the largest area possible. Okay, so if you guys are if this is your center of work, what you do is you zoom out, you do a pinch motion on the screen, and you try and capture as much area as you can. So this is the furthest out it will zoom for me. Whoa, I wonder how far it'll let me go. But anyway, so you would capture a much larger area by doing this. It's a bigger download, but I recommend that's what you do, and it will just allow you to have offline maps for a greater region rather than just a quick zoomed in zone. And then let that finish downloading, and if the driver should run out of data or have any sort of complications, this really is a benefit. I'm working on an image that when a new device is handed out, we could then very quickly just install a pre-configured device, a pre-configured OS for these devices that has all of these settings enabled already, including a map. So I might probably have an image for the Joburg drivers versus the Cape Town drivers versus, the main, groups, the main branches that have a large amount of drivers. Okay, cool. That is the summary of this guide.